You're listening to the Luminate series on the Forward Faster podcast, providing bite-sized insights for entrepreneurs in the optics, photonics, and imaging sector.
Hi, my name is Damon Diehl, and this is the Forward Faster podcast. I'm the technology program manager here at the Luminate Accelerator at NextCore, and what we are is we are the world's largest accelerator for optics, photonics, and imaging. And with me today is Dr. Alexis Vogt, and she is the Endowed Chair and Professor of the Optical Systems Technology program at Monroe Community College. And first, hi, we've known each other for years.
Hi, Damon. Great to see you.
And so I just wanted to jump in and first just have you say, what is the OST program and why is it important? And Optical Systems Technology is OST. I may say OST a lot just to our confused viewers.
Sure. The Optical Systems Technology program has been at Monroe Community College since the 1960s, and it was largely a feeder program for Bausch & Lomb and Kodak. So Kodak would hire someone and send them to MCC for training in the Optical Systems Technology program, and then they'd go back to Kodak or Bausch & Lomb and work. So in the heyday, the program had dozens of students, and then as Kodak had its decline, so too did the program at Monroe Community College. And so we're in a rebuilding phase right now, but our purpose is to train the optical systems technicians in the entire world. We're the training platform for that. So we're training the people who are working with their hands to manufacture and test optics.
Yeah. If I remember correctly, and I was surprised, the OST program is actually the oldest thing at MCC, or like right next to nursing, right?
That's right. That's right. Because it's been around for so long, but we're still in this battle of trying to get the word out about what we do so that we can continue to grow and have more students in the program. We're in a state right now where we have more jobs available than students to fill them. So we're desperately seeking new students to come either straight out of high school or students who come and want to change careers entirely because the jobs are there and they're really enjoyable, really rewarding and well-paying jobs.
I agree. So in your position now, maybe you've hit on this a little bit, but what are your primary objectives in your position as the chair? We kind of talk about leadership and entrepreneurship here. So what is that you're trying to do the most as a goal?
Sure. It feels a bit like leadership and entrepreneurship.
Oh, exactly right.
I joined 5 years ago with the purpose of trying to strengthen and grow the Optical Systems Technology program. So 5 years ago, there were roughly 5 students in the program. Today, we have over 80 students in the program. So we're growing the number of students, but we're really looking to also strengthen the curriculum and the program so that we are aptly training the technicians for today's work and for the future's work. So we work really closely with industry partners so that we can create the curriculum that properly reflects what we need in our industry for now, but also looking into the future. So my role is to work very closely with the optics industry, with my partners in the industry, to understand what that curriculum looks like, to purchase the equipment to properly train our students, and then also to work really closely with the industry just to understand what the job demands are and what those needs look like. And I took this position because I was aware firsthand of the shortage of optics technicians that we have in the Rochester region. What I sorely misunderstood was how vast the need is for technicians around the whole entire world, not just in the United States, but around the world. And so I see that now through the nearly daily emails that I get from optics companies around the world, seeking our students and sending job descriptions for positions that they have filled and they're unable to fill. So my role here has been to lead the program, to grow the program, both internally, building up a staff, a wonderful team to help me do this, and then also ultimately to best prepare students and train them through the curriculum that they're going through and the training they're receiving while they're here on campus.
Yeah. So for the people here aren't going to know, so I actually, I used to work at MCC. And so I know all 5 of those students. And also I can attest, the optics community in Rochester is just phenomenal. But the program was really on the ropes. So what are you most proud of accomplishing so far? You've got the things that you've been shooting for. What are you most proud of accomplishing?
So in my position, I'm certainly proud of the funding that I've been able to bring in. $6 million in the last 5 years I've been here. That's
Huge.
come
Wow.
through industry support and through grants through the National Science Foundation, through the Department of Defense. And the reason for that funding is simply because our shortage of optics technicians is a really dire and scary situation for us. I mean, we can't do things like protect our national security if we don't have optics technicians who can manufacture and test optical components. So that's a really scary situation that we're in, which is why the Department of Defense is so favorable on our program and provided us with nearly $4.5 million to try to strengthen the program. So certainly I'm proud of that. I'm proud of the team that I've built, really strong team that's helped me achieve all of our goals and all of our milestones. But my biggest pride is certainly the students. When a student graduates from the program and finds not only a job, but a career, I find that the absolutely most wonderful and most rewarding part of the job, seeing these students then recognize this wonderful field that we're a part of and finding careers that really make them happy and make them appreciate all of their hard work. That's ultimately where I find my greatest satisfaction and
Yeah,
reward.
no, that never gets old.
You know that
Oh, I
feeling.
do.
Absolutely.
Right.
It never gets old. It's
Yeah,
wonderful.
I still love teaching. So you wear these two hats. You work in the optics community, but you're also a teacher. And so what I was curious was, first of all, what are some things that you see as trends in optical manufacturing? Because that's not the only thing that MCC does, but you have this insight into what's going on in optics. We got OptiFab coming up.
Right.
I'm sorry, OptiFab is an optical fabrication conference here in Rochester, and so I'm really curious to hear what your thoughts are, where things are going.
Yes, I've been doing a lot of research into this area so to make certain that we're best prepared. And a few key areas, diamond turning is one of those areas. It's not an area that we have taught before within our program, but just within the last few weeks, we acquired our very first diamond turning lathe. And so we're introducing that into our
Wow.
curriculum. Yeah, we're super excited about it. I mean, this had been one of the very first questions I got when I took this job 5 years ago is, do you teach diamond turning? And we didn't. And then you look into seeing what a diamond turning lathe cost, and no one has $350,000 just sitting around. So that was cost prohibitive. But fortunately, because of the grants that we've been able to acquire, we've been able to purchase a diamond turning lathe. So that's an area that I see growing. We are desperate for more technicians who have the ability and the knowledge of diamond turning. So we're introducing that into our curriculum. We also, just the last couple of weeks ago, introduced MRF technology. So we have a QED machine that we're adding in as well. And so I really expect that we're going to see more technicians come in really highly skilled. They're going to be expected to have more of these skill set and really diversify in what they know. So it's not just the traditional grinding and polishing, but we need technicians who are really well trained in diamond turning, in MRF, in metrology, interferometry, in addition to the grinding and polishing, both the traditional as well as the CNC. So those are the areas we're really trying to focus right now. We see those as huge opportunities and growth areas. So that's why we're spending the money to create brand new labs. I mean, we're in this extraordinarily fortunate position that despite this horrendous pandemic that we've been in, we have seen across the college and across the whole world that academic institutions have decreased significantly in their enrollment. So at MCC, on average, our enrollment dropped by 20%. In the optics program, our enrollment in the fall jumped by 72%. And we're building a brand new lab. We're finishing up an expansion project right now to have a brand new lab. So we're very fortunate that even in these challenging times, we're able to grow. And the reason for that is because of this really very strong support we have from the optics industry. In fact, when the pandemic hit us a year ago, I was so concerned about all of my students and would they be able to continue on at MCC, because if they're not working, then how can they afford the tuition associated with MCC? Right. And I was very surprised, but extraordinarily encouraged to find out that every single student was working for an optics company, and all of the optics companies were deemed essential. So nobody was losing their jobs. They all, in fact, became even more busy. Yeah. So we're just excited to be a part of this field that's continuing to grow, even in these challenging times.
That's amazing what you're saying about equipment, because I know what you started off with. and it was
Right.
from the 1950s. So,
Yes.
yeah, that diamond turning, amazing. And you talked about having 72 students come in. So what is it? Is that from high schools they're coming in? Yeah.
Yeah,
So what's
that's a great
bringing them
question.
in then?
Yes. So our enrollment jumped by 72%. We now have over 80 students who are in the program. We have seen a large increase come from high schools. So we have 12 high schools that we partner with now in the area as part of our dual enrollment program. And so those are high schools where they're teaching, the high school teachers are teaching my introduction to optics class to their own high school students in their high school. And so the hope is that they learn about optics, then they want to come learn about it even more and study at MCC. That is certainly one of the ways that we find more students and we grow them that way. We also invested money last year in a marketing campaign to try to get the word out. So we have students who showed up because they saw an Instagram advertisement for the MCC optics program, and that's why they showed up. And it's a lot of word of mouth as well. So students whose parents heard about it, John Hart from Lumetrics, I need to give him a shout out because he was playing golf next to someone at the driving range, started talking to the student, to the kid who was working there, and he's now in my introduction to optics class. So I have help recruiting at all different levels from all different people. But I think John Hart's willingness to talk about the MCC optics program just is an illustration of how desperate these optics companies are to find skilled technicians. We simply need more of them. And the challenge, as you know this well, Damon, the challenge is no high school student is sitting home Googling, like, where can I be an optics technician?
Right.
They aren't aware that we even exist, that this field is here, yet we all are relying upon our smartphones and our backup cameras. I mean, the list goes on and on and on. So we're all using optics every single day, but not aware that there's a field surrounding it that is looking for more of these students. So it's an ongoing effort to try to get the word out about the program and encourage more students to come back. But largely, the increase has been from high school students who are coming in.
You were talking about how there is a difficulty in raising awareness for the program and how that's a challenge. Are there any other challenges that face your program right now that you're banging your head against?
I think the other challenge is that we simply don't have enough students. So it's interrelated, right? That goes along with getting the word out about it. But one of the challenges is we simply don't have enough of these types of programs around the country. And so I've been working with other community colleges to try to create the MCC program elsewhere, to replicate it so that we have other colleges providing this type of training. And a few of them are starting up, which is wonderful. And I'm trying to provide the support so that we have these programs that are offered all around the country, because I get so many of these job postings every single week that I can't possibly have enough students here at MCC to fill them. And so that's creating a void within our industry. So certainly one of the challenges is how do we take what's happening here in Rochester and replicate that? One of the ways in which we have been doing that is to create a precision optics manufacturing apprenticeship program. So in the Rochester area right now, Optimax started the original apprenticeship program. Sidor Optics also has an apprenticeship program. JML Optical also has an apprenticeship program as well. But everything had been isolated here in the Rochester region. And the reason for that is because an apprenticeship has two components. One is the on-the-job training that's done at the company, and the other is what's called the related instruction. So that's the class time, that's the learning piece. Mm-hmm. So if you're sitting in Rochester, you can come to MCC and do the training in our seats in our classrooms. But if you're outside the area, that poses a problem because we're the only college in the world awarding associate degrees in precision optics. So where do you get that training? So we just recently have created a precision optics apprenticeship. It's recognized at the national level. Just a couple of months ago, we launched our first U.S. Department of Labor-based apprenticeship program with LaCroix Precision Optics in Arkansas. So we're actively looking to expand that program so that we have people who are being trained all over the country. And the beauty of the grant that I received, and then, of course, this pandemic, which is interesting to say was a beauty of the pandemic. But one opportunity that arose was that we're now teaching online instruction. And in fact, before COVID hit, we had already started taking our classes and making them online as much as is possible so that we can provide that training outside of Rochester. So now the related instruction component of the apprenticeship is something that can be taught without sitting in our seats here in Rochester, New York. And if you think about other fields, this is a no-brainer. Like if you're in the automobile industry or a car mechanic or an electrician or a plumbers or welders, they all have apprenticeship programs and training programs, trade schools of some nature. We don't have that. We have the MCC optics program. So the other challenge I'm constantly working through is how do we replicate this program or some of these training models so that we can educate more people and people who aren't just sitting here in Rochester.
One thing you mentioned before is equipment. You have this new equipment. And so what are you doing for other schools that are not as well equipped as you guys?
Yes. So a few different initiatives. One of them is we've been working with New York Photonics on an initiative called AmeriCom that will provide funding from the Department of Defense specifically to replicate things like equipment, because it is very costly, as you know well. The other thing that we're working through is creating ways in which the online instruction, the lecture portion, that can be done over Zoom in the similar format to what we're doing right now. The hands-on component, of course, is the more tricky part, and that's the part that's really important. So a few options. One are some of these companies that we're partnering with for the apprenticeships have a lot of this equipment already in-house. So their apprentices can do their training in their own facilities. The other option, and then we're having some students do this, is to, in fact, come to Rochester and use our labs either the summertime or a few times during the semester to get their hands-on component that way. We're trying to be as creative and dynamic as possible to train and reach as many people as we can. We have a student right now, for example, who started in our program here in Rochester. His wife got a job promotion to Taiwan, and so he remains in our program, and we have him Zooming in to do all of his labs from Taiwan. So we're trying to use technology as an advantage, and that's one example of that. How can we continue to help him further his education, even though he now lives in Taiwan? So he's up at 3 a.m, doing a wave optics lab, but he's making it work, and we're still trying to figure out ways so that we can assist him.
That's amazing. You've got international. That's fantastic.
Right?
So
I know. It's great. It is great.
So I guess along those lines, a question that we ask everybody is, if you look ahead 5 to 10 years, where do you think that the optical systems technology program is going to be, or maybe the manufacturing industry as a whole? I guess, how do you want it to look in 10 years from now?
Sure, absolutely. This is something I think about often. One of the key things that's really important to me is to diversify the workforce. And that's been an initiative through the grants that I have received. And we're headed in the right direction. A quarter of our student population is female. Right now, 22% are people of color. So I'm working actively to diversify the workforce, and I would really like to see that change. And that is one of the directions we're absolutely focused on and making that really an important initiative moving forward. So over the next 5 years, I see that growing to have a much more diverse workforce and to have other programs like ours around the country, many of them very strong programs who are providing this training that we need. I think we have great opportunity ahead of us, and there's such a need within our industry. I mean, we're the industry of the future. That's what's so exciting about being part of this field, is we're the ones revolutionizing the way in which we live. I go out to talk to all these high schools all the time and tell them about all of these great advancements that we've made over time. Compare the old cell phone to the new cell phone. And that doesn't really resonate too much because all they know is the cell phone that's sitting in their pocket. But when I say to them, we have people right now in Rochester who are working on ways in which we only charge these smartphones up once a month, they all look at me like I'm crazy. But they say, well, that's the field I want to be a part of. So when we try to think about what these future advancements are, that's really where we realize we are part of this extraordinary field. But now we just need to make certain that we have the people with the skill sets to manufacture them, to test them, to be the technician. So I'm actively trying to recruit artists, musicians, gamers, chefs, automobile mechanics, athletes. All of these people have excellent hand-eye coordination. So now I just need them to come to MCC so then we can teach them the optics portion and then find them these wonderful jobs.
What I would complain about, or I guess it wasn't so much a complaint, but people tell me that there weren't enough people in the optics industry. And I said, well, the easiest way to grow at 100% is to have more women. And that attitude has changed so much, because when I was starting, it was sort of a boys thing. And yeah, definitely that I can see why that's moving toward diversity is going to be a huge thing, just to create more people. So that's fantastic. I'm really glad that you were with us today, Alexis. As always, it's a pleasure to talk to you. And if you want to see more of what we're doing here, then please follow the Forward Faster podcast. And you can find that by coming to our website, which is nextcore.org/podcast. And Nextcore is tricky. It's NEXTCORPS. That S at the end is very important. So nextcore.org/podcast. Or you can do something easier and go to Spotify or iTunes and just look for the Nextcore Forward Faster podcast. That is it for us. Again, Alexis, so great to see you, and we'll catch you on the next Forward Faster podcast. Thank you.